All right. Well, welcome. So this is for you guys and for anybody who watches it. So I kind of did a little bit of both, and you'll see that in my learning objective. But before, make sure that everything's working. I think we kind of did a brief rundown beforehand, but if you're watching this recorded, make sure everything is working and your audio is on. You can hear me, all of that good stuff. And we'll go ahead and get started. So remove any distractions that you have, shut the door, make sure you're in a good learning environment. I have my phone with me, but just to keep track of our time so I do not bore you guys, put a do not disturb sign on your door and prepare just yourself to make sure that we can learn together in a good environment. So quality check, please make sure you see the red record symbol in the upper left corner of your screen. Check that you see this slide and make sure that you can hear me. If everything is good, go ahead and give me a thumbs up in the chat using the emoji so that I know that we're all good to go and we're ready to begin. If you're at home, just go ahead and pause this video and make sure that you can hear everything okay. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Marilyn, do you have a question? Your hand is up too. No? Okay. Just making sure. All right, so my learning objective for this is that by the end of the presentation, you will understand how online learning has grown and then how you can incorporate it. And I left that last part broad, so how you can incorporate it. So my goal is that each one of you guys will be able to get what you want out of it, and then anybody who watches this recording, whether you're a teacher or I'm at a professional event, they can also get what I want out of that. So we're going to look at some statistics on just the rapid changing online platforms in today's society, because statistics is something that you can look at and it makes you think and it makes you wonder. And there are statistics out there for each one of our platforms that we teach or coach or work in, which I thought was very interesting. So I'm going to start a poll. And in that poll, I want you to make your best guess, and then we will go over the answers on the next slide. Thumbs up if we're good to go for a poll question. There will be 3 of them. You can either do the chat emoji or just show me. Good. All right. And if you're at home, just do your best, and we'll be able to talk about them later. All right. So if you're at home, and you're doing the poll, obviously this is a recording, so you can just jot down what choice you would have picked and then use that choice for on the next slide. All right, very interesting. I'm not going to say anything yet. Very interesting. All right, second question. So once again, if you're at home, just go ahead and answer this question. How many students now study fully online in higher education? So higher education is, after that high school level, you're into college, graduate programs, beyond. All right, all of you guys have answered. You guys want to see the results? If I share those, you want to see them? All of you guys did the same one for this one, which I thought was funny. All right. And then last question. This is for my K through 12 friends. So in K through 12 settings, this percentage of students are interested in using mobile apps for learning. So especially for my recorded teachers who might watch this back, what do you think our little kiddos would say? Interesting. You guys all said the same thing for that one too. All right, so we're going to look at the results because they're very interesting. So the answers. So the first question, how much growth do you think digital learning has had since the year 2000? The answer was 900%. And this was like across the board for everything, which I thought was huge, but it makes sense because the world has grown so much since then. The second question, how many students now study fully online for higher education? So people like us, you guys all had it correct, more than 3 million. And it was more than 3 million in the stat, but I didn't want to put that in the pool and like, give you guys the hint there. And then in the K through 12 setting, this percentage of students are interested in the mobile apps. You guys also had that right, which is 61%. I see this in my kids all the time. My kids teach me more than what I teach them, I think, on learning apps nowadays, which is kind of funny. So why did we do those polls? Why did I want to do that? Because the rest of this presentation is going to give you a better understanding of how the statistics became what they did and why. So just kind of the forward moving motion of where online learning is going. So education. The start of education was mainly large lecture halls with students crammed inside listening to a lecture. The problem with this was that you weren't able to give or get feedback. If you were the instructor, you couldn't stop the lesson and target one student and talk to them. If you were the student, you couldn't pause and ask the professor something. So you couldn't stop and give feedback to those needing it, which was a real struggle. And it left the students a big responsibility to memorize the material and then recall it again for a big test. So you had to be a really good note taker and just really be on top of all your notes. Have you guys, what is the biggest class size that you guys have had? Because I know that in one of your other presentations, you guys have talked about large lecture halls. How many students estimated do you think, just put in the chat, and if you're at home, go ahead and write it down. How many students do you think that you had in a large lecture hall? 300, oh my goodness. See, okay, Shay, I'm like you. I have not been in a large class. And so me trying to wrap my head around this, I just haven't been able to. But I have had professors that I didn't understand, like they spoke a different type of language or had an accent, and that was hard for me because it was just the cultural difference. So we are going to test this. So, and I will explain why in a second, but I'm going to start this timer and you guys are going to need your chat. And so in the chat, I want you to try to find, I didn't get started already. You are going to try to find the emojis and put them in the chat. And it's only 10 seconds. Okay. So as the timer is going on, find the emoji, put it in the chat. Ready? Set. Go. All right. So I see a few emojis that you guys popped up. Some people are still typing. If you were at home, you're probably lost and you could pause, which is helpful. But imagine this being a large lecture. So imagine you are taking notes and this is how fast the professor is talking. And this is how fast your notes are taking. Look at how many, and this was only 10 emojis. And look how many you guys missed in just that short span of time. This is how a large lecture was for those students. There was no pausing. There was no re-recording. At home now you can, which would be super helpful for my online listeners. But you three with me right now, if I said, okay, we're going to have a memorization test, list out those emojis. I don't think any of you could actually do it correctly, which I would love to say you can, but it's really tough. And so that was the problem with the big, large lecture halls. It just wasn't working. So today, digital age comes in. Connections can now literally be made anywhere at any time with no restrictions on where you're at, the time. You guys could stop and raise your hand at any point in time during this and I can answer your question. It's really personalized and honestly a lot better for learning. So students now can reflect before responding and different students have different voices. So when you're in a class, you said 300 kids. I can't even imagine having the nerve to raise my hand in a class of 300 kids and tell them all that I don't understand what's going on. So in this intimate setting, a lot more people can raise their hand and say, hey, I truly don't understand this. And typically you would be around people who thought like you. And in this setting, I could have a class with somebody in a different country. I could have a class, and I do have students from the high school who are foreign exchange students, and they can join us online and I can still have those interactions with them. So it brings in students with different voices, which is overall better for the learning in all of our realms of wherever we work. So there's less restriction with online and blended learning, which is where the world is going today. It can really be what you need it to be for any age or any person that you need it to be for. And that goes for teachers at home too watching this. Like we can even do online learning for kindergartners and we've had to. And so just really embracing that is important. So think back on a time growing up. How do you think your education experience may have been different if it was blended or more online based? If you feel comfortable and share with others, you can put it in the chat. If not, you can just write it on paper. I'll give you guys a few seconds to think. I have my timer here. And if you're at home, just go ahead and pause now. All right. I would not have to miss school for sickness. Yes, I completely agree with that. Learn more in the time that I had, agree. Access to subjects that I was interested in. I am just like you, Chuck, like all of the stuff that I didn't get to take or maybe that I was interested in, yes. And I tell my high schoolers this all the time. Honestly, if I had a more engaging experience, I probably would have actually learned more. I feel like I spent majority of my high school and college years either cheating the system, to be honest with you, figuring out what the teacher wanted me to know and doing it, and just not actually learning anything and skating by. And I think that if I would have had more of a blended education, I probably would have actually learned things, which would have been helpful for me. All right. So this is kind of where I tailored it for each person. So my teachers who will be watching this, you can use this for teacher education, but you three should be able to use this for yourselves and in your classes to make it better. So using this template and using what you personally know and what you personally just wrote down, fill in the blanks. You can take what part of aspect, whatever incorporation you want to do and put it online. Why would it be more beneficial? Would it be more or less work to implement something? How would you make this change? So just to give you an example of this, I can take online professional development and put it online. I feel like I have a good enough grasp of that. I think it would be more beneficial because then teachers wouldn't have to uproot their planning time to come to a meeting. They could have me on in the background and maybe still learn something. Honestly, I think it would be less work for me to implement in the long run because I would be able to record a meeting and more people would be able to watch it versus me having to repeat myself over and over again. A change to make this happen would be getting the buy-in from my administrators and the people above me who do not understand the new age of digital learning. So that is just kind of how I would fill this in. You guys can take this as you wish. My people at home can pause it as you wish. Does anybody feel comfortable unmuting and maybe sharing out something that you would want to change?
I would like take a single subject and instead of my students having to miss clinical time and meet together, then they could do an online course when they had time to do it. So part of their schooling they could do online.
Cool. Anybody else? I don't want to miss anybody. Okay. So let's play a game. Give me a thumbs up if you would enjoy having these at work. So would you prefer having online social gatherings versus in-person ones? Would you be a person that would enjoy getting online and just talking to people? Thumbs up if you would. If not, you can put a sad face or whatever you wish or nothing. Oh, funny. Okay, interesting. This is just for fun. What about recorded professional development with online question and answer forum? Do you think that this would be beneficial in your guys' line of work? I would agree with that completely. And what about contacts made from other places that are in the same field of work and you guys can reach out via email to help each other out? All right, so this is something we can all do and implement. And these links are in my PowerPoint, which I will send out to you guys. And this is just kind of where I got all my data for the statistics. And there was actually a section on each one of our work environments on there, which I thought was kind of cool. And just kind of more articles on where online learning is going and how you can implement it. which I thought was neat. All right, so in conclusion, online learning platforms are inevitably growing. There's nothing we can do to stop that. They are going to be beneficial to all learners as long as they're done correctly. And I hope that because of learning these things now, we can all make a little change in the world. The ones that were with me and the ones that will watch us later, to make online learning a little bit better for all, because we're all helping people out there in different ways. And if we can really adapt and change our way that we do things, it'll be beneficial for everybody in the end. So the people at home will be able to do this, and you guys will get the link. And you'll just go on, answer a few quiz questions about it. There's a reflection question in there just about how you thought this was. And then I will post that for you. And if you're at home, I will send you the link as well. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me, or you guys can unmute now and ask me any questions that you have. And if you're at home, just email me anything and let me know. And I will go ahead and stop recording.